Coming up next on Good Morning El Paso, a widespread manhunt that has stepped up border security has failed to turn up any trace of the notorious drug lord who escaped this weekend.
Also, the man behind one famous news program is criticizing Donald Trump's views on immigration, and he's standing up for El Paso.
I think we're getting to some real decisions. So I would say, even as we have a few tough things to do, I remain hopeful.
And a day of great optimism about the progress of nuclear talks with Iran. We have the very latest coming up.
Live, where news comes first. From the Mesilla Valley and Las Cruces to El Paso and the borderland. This is ABC7's Good Morning El Paso.
Very good morning to El Paso, Las Cruces, and Juarez. I'm Stephanie Valle.
And I'm Hillary Floren. Good Monday morning, everyone. Hope your day's off to a great start. The good news is that Crystal has a pretty decent looking forecast.
Yeah, it is going to be muggy, though.
As long as you don't mind that. But your house won't flood and your street will be passable.
Yeah,
that's good.
If humidity and high temperatures is our biggest problem, Crystal, then I guess we can deal with it, right?
Absolutely. Forecast is much better today than it was on Friday when we saw all of that wet weather move on through. This morning, as you head out the door for work, temperatures look great. We're at 69 at the New Mexico Farm and Ranch Museum. We're in the mid-70s for you, North Star Elementary School, 76 Loma Terrace Elementary School, and a little lower at 72 Fabens Elementary School. Those temperatures not bad at all to head out the door with. Your clouds and radar map, we do have some clouds that are hanging along that west part of our viewing zone, and then still light rain that's moving up along Lordsburg to Silver City. But for the most of us, it's a clear start to the day. Will it be, though, a clear afternoon? We've got some slight chances of rain in the forecast. We're going to talk rain chances not just today, but throughout the next 7 days, still in our forecast. That's coming up in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you, Crystal. And let's get to our round-the-clock news coverage this morning. A teenager is in the hospital, and residents in central El Paso were up late last night after a stabbing in the Loretto area. Now, this happened around 11 o'clock at the intersection of Pennsylvania and Cumberland Circle. According to emergency radio traffic, a 15-year-old boy was stabbed and taken to University Medical Center. Police were searching the nearby alleys late last night for the suspect, but so far no word on any arrests.
And in other news, a massive manhunt for a drug kingpin who's also an escape artist. He's known as El Chapo, one of the world's biggest and bloodiest drug dealers. Here's ABC's Chuck Sievertson with the very latest.
A drug lord reportedly worth more than $1 billion has disappeared from one of Mexico's most secure prisons. Joaquin Guzman, who goes by the nickname El Chapo, is believed to control most of the major crossing points for drugs along the border for years, sending cocaine, marijuana, and meth north to America.
He's sometimes called the Osama bin Laden of drug trafficking.
Guzman was last seen on surveillance video on his way to a prison shower. When he failed to emerge, guards rushing in to find an empty cell. The notorious cartel leader had vanished. In that shower area, a hole in the wall, 20 inches wide, leading to a vertical pipe 30 feet deep, complete with a staircase, eventually connecting to a 1-mile-long tunnel, so sophisticated it was outfitted with ventilation and lighting, eventually emerging in a nearby neighborhood. These developments a major embarrassment for Mexico, which denied the need to extradite Guzman, even as many expressed fears he would escape as he did in 2001. The U.S. Attorney General saying today America would provide any assistance that may help support his swift recapture. This latest breakout, eerily similar to the system of tunnels El Chapo used to avoid capture for more than a decade. Mexican authorities revealing these images, including a secret entrance concealed in a shower stall, from several of Guzman's compounds and hiding spots. Just days before his capture last year, the drug lord using one of those tunnels beneath a Mexican hotel to elude authorities. Guzman was last seen in public in 2014, the murderous criminal, then in handcuffs, surrounded by Mexican paramilitary officers. Michelle Franzen, ABC News, New York.
And journalists here in the U.S. have harsh words for the Mexican government and the recent escape of the notorious criminal. In an article published by the New York Times, journalists Elizabeth Malkin and Randall Archibald state, quote, "If there were a single prisoner who the government of Peña Nieto could not afford to lose, Mr. Guzman was it. His crime syndicate extends far beyond Mexico's borders," end quote. Joshua Partlow and Nick Muroff with the Washington Post write, Guzman's escape promises to be a major irritant in the relations between the U.S. and Mexican governments, end quote. And they go on to say, quote, the Peña Nieto administration refused to grant his extradition, insisting it would prosecute Guzman at home as a showcase of Mexican judicial independence.
The negotiations over Iran's nuclear program have been on and off again for nearly a decade. But today, diplomats say there will be a deal, finally. Secretary of State John Kerry expressed optimism Sunday on his way to Mass in Vienna, Austria, where this round of talks has dragged on for more than 2 weeks, past 3 deadlines. We will have more about the details of that deal coming up in just a bit here on Good Morning El Paso. The man behind Fox News is taking on Donald Trump on illegal immigration. Media mogul Rupert Murdoch used Twitter to criticize the GOP presidential candidate's recent controversial remarks about the threat posed by undocumented immigrants in the United States. Murdoch tweeted, quote, Mexican immigrants, as with all immigrants, have much lower crime rate than native-born. He cited El Paso as one of the safest cities and added, Trump wrong. Murdoch's voice is one of the most influential in the Republican Party. His tweets are picked apart for clues about who he might be backing and, just as important, who he might be opposing.
A debate that has turned into a hot topic among the presidential candidates and here in the borderland, immigration and sanctuary cities. That was the discussion on last night's ABC 7 Extra. We have Good Morning El Paso's Denise Olivas live right now with a recap of that. Good morning, Denise.
Good morning, Hillary. Sanctuary cities refers to cities in which local law enforcement purposely don't ask for a person's immigration status and don't report undocumented immigrants to the federal government. Well, the topic comes after the death of a 32-year-old woman in San Francisco who was shot and killed by an undocumented immigrant. San Francisco is a sanctuary city, and authorities say she was murdered by Francisco Sanchez, an illegal immigrant who had been deported 5 times. Well, there's no doubt that public safety should become a priority for cities like San Francisco and even El Paso. But an expert on last night's Extra says it is not illegal immigrants who are behind a majority of the violence.
I tell you, young adult immigrants, teenage immigrants have crime rates that are 1/3 those of comparable native-born.
I'm very proud of what El Paso's been doing. I think that our law enforcement in El Paso, because we are so close to the border, has been very aggressive about responding anytime there's an issue in this community.
And as you just heard there, the chair of El Paso's Republican Party agreeing that El Paso law enforcement is effective when it comes to incidents that involve illegal immigrants, also citing our top safest city ranking. But he still believes that sanctuary cities should be punished because they are not following federal laws. Stephanie, back to you.
Okay, Denise, thank you for that update. Police say drinking and driving are to blame for a deadly crash over the weekend. 23-year-old Betty Ann Gay is dead after crashing Saturday night near US 54 and Hondo Pass. That's in northeast El Paso. Now, police say that Gay was speeding when she tried to pass another car using the emergency lane. She went into the median and overcorrected. Police say Gay lost control and rolled over several times.
This morning, El Paso police are still trying to identify the motorcyclist killed in a fiery crash Saturday afternoon. The deadly crash was on the 12,000 block of Montana. Police say the man struck an SUV when the motorcycle caught fire. The man was pulled away from the flames and later died from serious head injuries at the hospital. Police say the rider was speeding. Police this morning are also trying to identify the body of a man they found Sunday morning. The body was found behind a building on the 1200 block of Yandell. Investigators say it's unclear how the man died, but we'll update you on air and online as soon as more information comes out.
Happening today, the Las Cruces City Council is set to review the controversial minimum wage hike ordinance. We have video of a city council meeting in December when the ordinance was approved. It was a hotly debated topic last year. Both local business owners and community leaders were at odds. The 3-phase plan bumped the hourly wage rate from $7.50 to $8.40 in January. The wage would then increase to $10.10 an hour by January 2017. Well, later today, council is set to review its impact. And coming up later on Good Morning El Paso, we'll have more details on what may or may not happen at the meeting today.
Let's take a look at traffic right now. A live look. I-10 and America is looking good right now. Pretty quiet, actually. For the east side, this is I-10 and Joe Battle. We'll continue to monitor traffic for the duration of our show.
And it is 6:10 and still more to come here on Good Morning El Paso.
That's right. Coming up, we'll talk about Whataburger and the concealed handgun carry.
And what they have to say about allowing people who have a permit to carry openly on their property.
And later, the NBA Summer League is up and running, but some UTEP minors in the league are not seeing too much playing time. We'll talk about that.
And meteorologist Crystal Clay has your detailed forecast. Crystal.
Well, there's no rain out there this morning, but will we pick some up later this afternoon, and do you even want it? We're going to talk about those rain chances coming up after your break.
Thanks, Crystal. This is ABC 7, where news comes first.